Hey guys, Hacks with Digital Polymath here. Today I'm going to take a Jeskai Control deck for a spin, but not just any Jeskai Control deck. This is the winning deck from the most recent Grand Prix in Milwaukee, piloted by Adrian Sullivan. So what makes this deck different from the usual Jeskai Control list that we see is the full playset of Treasure Map, which is really great in the control mirrors, because if you can get this on turn 2, you basically get to scry every turn at least once, because with a Jeskai control list you're always keeping your mana open in case you need to counter something, and if the opponent doesn't play something you want to counter, you just use that mana to scry before your draw. And actually, when you get enough mana, you can actually scry twice per turn cycle. So usually what you would do is at the opponent's end step, you would scry first, and if it's not something that you want, you just put it on the bottom. And then during your upkeep, when everything untaps, but before you draw your card, you would scry again, and that way you can see what card you're gonna draw next. And if again it's still not something you want, you can always just put it on the bottom again. So you get 2 scries per turn cycle. And of course, after 3 triggers, giving you 3 counters on the treasure map, it flips over to Treasure Cove and also gives you 3 treasure tokens. So this is also huge for the control mirror, where oftentimes the player with the most available mana is going to win. That's because you need the extra mana for, counter spell wars. You need the extra mana to be able to cast your Teferi and protect it. And also more mana means you get bigger explosions or a Banefire if you have it from the sideboard. So treasure map, really great. The other difference is a full playset of Niv-Mizzet Parun. This card is just crazy in the control mirror, because first of all, it can't be countered, so you're definitely going to resolve it. And also, anything that the opponent tries to play afterwards to deal with it, it will allow you to draw a card. So whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. So that means both players, right? Both you and your opponent. So let's say they go and try to deal with your Niv-Mizzet with a Justice Strike. You could try to counter it, they may counter back, and you go back and forth, and you get this huge stack of spells, each one drawing you a card and allowing you to deal 1 damage to any target. So it's basically a win-win for you. Even if you lose the counterspell war and you lose your Niv-Mizzet, you end up with like 4 or 5 cards in your hand, and you have dealt 4 or 5 damage. Usually that damage in the control mirror would be pointed to probably a Teferi on the opponent's side of the battlefield, which means you lose your dragon, but you also took out their Teferi and you're up on cards. So really great. The full playset just means that if you do lose the dragon, you can just cast it again next turn, and oftentimes you'll probably just draw into another one when those counterspell wars go off. So really great. I did find that it is a bit soft to other archetypes, with the Golgari in particular, if they're running the walkers, which will keep growing as they explore, because things like Deafening Clarion is not enough to take care of the walker. So that's why you have 1 copy of Sell the Wreckage, but you have another copy in the board with Cleansing Nova, and Star of Extinction is definitely there for the Golgari matchup. And everything else is pretty much there to try to fill out any weaknesses in any particular matchup. You have your good kind of exile based removal, some extra counter spells, and Banefire to finish off your opponent if they're playing Jeskai or some other counterspell heavy deck. And Star of Extinction again is just bonkers for against Golgari. You basically wipe their board completely, and you destroy one of their lands too, so they're down on mana. Lyra is pretty good if you're playing against some sort of aggro strategy. Once you stabilize, she helps you bring your life total back up. So against things like mono red, it's really great because they'll often get you down to single digit life, and you're at risk of losing if they just top deck a bunch of burn spells. So being able to have Lyra there to bring your life total back up is just huge. So we're gonna go ahead and queue up for the competitive constructed, which is best of 3. And really this is where any sort of control based deck really shines, because you really do need that sideboard to help you shore up your matchups. In best of 1, it's very hard for a control deck to kind of guess all the games that you're gonna be matched up against. And oftentimes they're just not as good as something like mono white aggro or mono red aggro, which doesn't need a sideboard to win consistently in game 1. So really, if you're planning to play control, then really the best of 3 is kind of where you want to try to play. So let's queue up and see what we get matched up against. I'm hoping to get matched up against another control deck so that we can really see this deck list shine. But if we don't get a control mirror, we can see how well this deck can cope with the field. So opponents choosing whether to play first or draw first. Oftentimes, especially in game 1, it's often correct to play first, just because you have access to your mana sooner, so that you can react to whatever the threats that the opponent may play. So this is really bad. I mean, we only have 1 land and it's gonna come in tapped. Definitely don't want 3 explosions in our opening hand. Probably don't want the Niv right away unless you have a very strong hand that could support playing him on curve. But oftentimes you just don't want these cards in your opening hand. You want lands, you want things that can allow you to dig further into your deck. Things like Treasure Map is really great. So we're going to send this back. Okay, so this one's not bad. Teferi is okay in your opening hand because they only cost 5. And effectively it only costs 3 because his +1 allows you to untap 2. But I like that we have an Enigma Drake here, so that we could probably play him on curve and either block if the opponent is playing some sort of creature-based strategy, or start dealing damage to the opponent otherwise. So this is good. 3rd land guarantees we'll be able to play our Drake. So I forgot to mention that one thing that kind of differentiates this Jeskai deck list from others is that the Enigma Drake allows you to really start pressuring opponents if they're not playing aggro. And also the choice of counterspell is pretty interesting too. We're playing Ionizes instead of the Sinister Sabotage because those extra points of damage really help you to end the game. So everything kind of pings your opponent, with the Niv-Mizzet effect and the Ionize, and that just sets you up for being able to finish the game with, say, a explosion or a Banefire after sideboarding. So I definitely want to play the Drake here, so block and just stall a bit. So it'd be cool if we can top deck a Clarion, because that would just take care of the problem over there. Okay, Kindling Phoenix is not great for us, but we can still... Oh, this is perfect. Very lucky for us, because the Lava Coil will take care of the Phoenix exile it. And now our Drake actually is enough to kill their knights as well. So they'll probably attack in. We'll lose our Drake, but unless they play out... What is this? Creatures you control gain first strike and vigilance. Oh, okay. And you get another main phase. So that's not good. So this is really bad for us. But let's go ahead and scry first. So we have our 5th land, so that's good. That allows us to play Teferi. But this is very bad because they have first strike, which means I'm not able to kill. And they get another attack phase after this. There's additional combat phase. Yeah, not good. So if I block, I lose my Drake, they keep their knights. If I don't block though, I'm down to 4. So if I play Teferi next turn, yeah, I think I just have to block here. Actually, no, maybe not. Let's just hope they don't burn me out here. Unfortunately, I have to take damage for these. I have to bounce one of these to just survive. But if they're playing like Shock, which they probably are, then they're probably done. Okay. So on to game 2. It's unfortunate we didn't draw the Clarion in time, but you know, after the sideboarding, hopefully we're a bit more prepared. So Spell Pierce, I'm hesitant to keep it in, but it is good against stuff like Resurgence or Heroic Reinforcements, which we know they're playing. We probably don't need the Phoenix. Cleansing Nova is a bit clunky, but it's still another sweeper that we want. Syncopate. Probably don't need a Syncopate here. So we have to cut 3 more cards. We do want the Niv. So maybe take out the Syncopate. Well, actually it does exile, so it may be better. So let's take out maybe 1 Treasure Map, 1 Niv, 1 Explosion. Okay. So let's try this. Hopefully the additional sweepers and removal will help us overcome the opponent's kind of aggression. So choose to play first. Okay, this is good. So we have guaranteed land for Settle the Wreckage. We have Treasure Map and Ionize. So this is a really good opening hand against the match actually. So with the Settle in hand, we're actually hoping that they deploy a lot of creatures right away, but it looks like they're not gonna. We have Ionize in case they play something like that. So looks like they have a slower hand this time, which is good for us because it gives us time to set up. This is also good. So chances are they're gonna swing in with pretty much everything. It would have been cooler if they had Legions landing, because then they're incentivized to swing in with everything, but Seal Away is good. So since their board isn't that strong right now, we can even consider doing Teferi, leaving up mana for Seal Away. And you know, they're not really threatening his loyalty count. We just start drawing into more cards and build up our card advantage. Okay. So this is really bad for us. Maybe I should have stayed with the settle plan, but you know. Okay, so let's see what they're doing here. They're attacking 2 in to my Teferi, so that was a mistake. I'll get to seal away the Snubhorn. Probably the best creature anyway, and I get to keep the fairy and have settle for the following turn. Keep up the pace. So this is good. So we'll see how they position their attack. So let's do a little bit of baiting here, but I do want them to attack it. Oops. So this is a mistake on their part. They really should have respected the open mana. And you know, from here on out, pretty much it's game. I mean, I have a Teferi on board, and I'm gonna cast my Niv-Mizzet next turn. They only have 2 cards in hand. Don't need another land.
We need to move quickly.
Okay. So we'll flip our treasure map here so that we have extra mana. And just kill their Snubhorn. Yeah. Opponent's probably just gonna concede at this point. Okay.
Let's skip to the good.
So he wants us to play it out, which is fine. we'll just explosion at the end of their turn. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. What is, I can't see the text, which is really unfortunate here. But it's probably smart to just ping them. Return repeating barrage deals 3 damage to any target. Okay.
I have a plan B, as soon as I think of one.
Okay, my turn. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So explosion for 6, and the drawing of the cards probably is enough to kill them. Yeah, the triggers alone is gonna kill them. So, what did we learn? So we know that they're still playing an aggressive strategy. They do have some angels. So, I mean, we could try to board in the Ixalan's Binding as well. Or just rely on our counter magic that we already have. I think Shock is pretty weak here. There really isn't anything we want to kill except for Knight tokens. So maybe we'll take one of those out and put in a Ixalan's Binding. Might want another negate because they have access to those heroic reinforcements. So maybe take the binding back out. Okay. So on to game 3. Okay, so this is not a very good hand here. We do have access to land, which is great, but we really have no plays at all for the first 5 turns unless we draw into them. We don't have anything to dig, so we do want a mulligan here. This is a little bit better, but I think we're just gonna have to keep because mulling down to 5 puts us at a severe disadvantage. So, okay, the land is not bad. We're gonna need that, so we'll keep that here. So I'm hoping to draw into one of our board clears, in particular probably definitely Clarion, just because the opponent's off to a pretty fast start. Okay, so that's definitely not what we wanted. These draws are really doesn't do anything for us, but this saves us quite a bit. And hopefully they don't have any other heroic reinforcements. Okay, the Drake is good. So we at least get the block. But we still need either a land to even have a play. Oh wow, so they did have that second heroic reinforcements. So we're gonna go down very low here. Basically from half the top deck. so this is not good. This is definitely not good. So gonna need to seal away something, and I'm thinking if they have a third copy, we'd be able to copy it, but you know, I think this is just game here. I can block one and seal away one. Yeah, that's game.